Thokozani. I am poverty mother advocate of Itlozi, and I welcome you to my channel. Thank you so much for choosing to view my video. Today we'll be talking about another interesting, topic at hand, which is ancestral bloodline. Because ancestral bloodline is very important, just like in every video I say, is very important. But it is important because it is the foundation to a lot of things. So now it's important to understand your ancestral bloodline so that at least there's some form of clarity. So in terms of ancestral bloodline, it means you know who you are and where you come from and where you belong. So what people normally do is you tend to get lazy and just go look at, no, it's and all of these other things, and tend that you're in a safe space if you're calling that. So it's important to know the importance or significance of amadlozi between a male and a female, for them bakhe umuzi or rather umdeni. So now, if neither of those things have ever been done, whether is it ukoko wako, whether it's ugogo, whether it's umomo or whoever, it also applies as there was no marriage there. Because now what people do, just because ugogo or ukoko, you quickly slide in and think that that's the safe space or that is the correct surnames to use, not looking at so many aspects that play certain roles. Because not only we look at things like generational curses, generational setbacks, ancestral traumas, and all those other things in between, and how your life currently works today, it plays a very important role. And remember, Dala Avukoko, they would change surnames and all those other things. So everything would get lost because there would be not much documented. So I will refer back to my statement of, if there was no ancestors brought together, that means loyo mntwana loyo, or that child born out of that relationship, umntwana sekhaya, umntwana bomalume, umntwana wasekhaya, lo mntwana lo, it does not change the surname. So now if you're watching this video and you know that you're a culprit of changing isibongo somntwanako to your boyfriend's surname just because he gave you a baby, changing your surnames to your fat and set boyfriend just because you're living together, you need to know that you are causing so many problems for your kids and their kids, because now there's so many things that happen. Even with this whole notion of marrying with your kids into another family and changing your kid's surname to that family, that is also a problem on its own, because I have seen so many problems that occur after those things. People just want to adopt certain things and do them and not understand good. In the future, there are repercussions of things that we do. So now you'll find that we are pasha, because I will always hear people, but Gogo nya pasha, that thing is making sense, but Gogo this and this and this. You need to understand that ancestral bloodline is important, so that even knowing about ubiza amadluzi sam, you know which ancestors you are calling, and is it the correct ancestors? You feel me? So you always count back. You go back to your mom's surname. Umamake, umama kuno babako. If they were not married, you move back. Ukoko nomkhulu. If they were not married, you move back. Ukoko nomkhulu koko. You move back. That's how it does. But now, the trick to all of this is that this history repeats itself, because you'd find in certain cases that they would say ukoko nomkhulu, they were married, but all they did was just sign. Nayoleo, it does not even count as marriage. Because what happens is that today you want to get married, you want to build a legacy, or you want to build a home, and anyeke umuzi wakho ume nomikhala kuhambe kahle, because you awujamba abantu abadala ngokusintu uhambe uyoshada, whereas there's so many things to be done at the back. Because uhlanganisa kanjani amadlozi wakho nalo muntu ozwana naye noma omshadayo, whereas emuva there's so many broken things that have happened, or there's so many brokenness in terms of isbongo and all those other things. It's important to ask about your ancestral bloodline so that you know you're calling the right surname, because sometimes you find a good thing nibiza izibongo stepfather and all of this. And because umkhulu is your stepfather, maybe isibongo sakhe bekunkosi, and the real mkhulu wakho uNdlovu, you automatically say no, so uyaphahla ubiza bakandlovu. You're wrong. You always stick to the maternal unless there was a marriage involved. So that is why the safe bet is to always call amadlozi from ekuqaleni, even noma buye phahla uye emagraveyard, awujampe amadlozi, uqala kulaba abazali laba if you can find their graves. Because now it's very important, because generational curses and all these things, that is how aqhubeka ngakhona, because there is no breaking of those things, and it's a continuation. You find ukuthi nonke niyashada and lotsholwa, but you get married, or you cohabit, or because tend to looking at it like that. If Ukoko just signed and was like, let me live with them, she was cohabiting. It's just that back then, they would recognize the paper, certificate more than anything, So you'd find ukuthi imsam emning in most cases, or in many homes, is broken or not moving the way it's supposed to because of such things. Even mohamba uthi ufunisisa impilo, or you even try to get help, your healing is short-lived. Whatever spiritual attacks are short, your healing is short-lived, because they alikho idlozi elikusekele or elisekela kahle izinto zakho. So now it's very important to go back to the beginning, or rather the beginning. I always say the safest bet is to go back to the last generation, the fifth one, with counting you, right? You count yourself, you count your parents, their Koko and these ones. So now, so that at least you have an analogy, because abantu abadala would just say ukuthi ugogo bekashadela umkhulu, but they would not necessarily know ukuthi was it traditional, or was it amadlozi ahlanganisiwe. If there were no ancestors brought together, you need to know that marriage was like null and void. That is why there tends to be a problem ebantwini in terms of amadlozi, especially abantu abangena amadlozi. What am I saying? Especially abantu abazala banesipho sedlozi, masedlozi selvuka. When you're receiving your calling or an awakening, you always ask, is it the maternal or the paternal ancestors and all these other things? I always say sometimes it's very tricky. How you cannot get amadlozi or kabobaba when you know that none of these things were performed, because it's like a hijack, all these things that it's doing. It's an ancestral hijack going on from generation to generation. Because yes, someone might argue with whatever the case may be, good for you, but I'm just being practical here, that you cannot call yourself China, when you're in Japan. I'm trying to make you understand where I'm going with all of this, because you need to know who you are. Because silandela amasiko esiwakha phezulu, thinking just because bathe kuvela umkhulu ozala umama or umkhulu ozala umkhulu, automatically in your mind you're thinking, oh my gosh, that is the surname we're supposed to be using. So you go back to the bloodline, because that is how it will make sense. That is how even nongobu phahla, you will see a way forward, because now uzobe sobiza amadlozi ekuwona awakho, because amanye abantu nibiza amadlozi angasiwenu because you don't ask, or because there are secrets in the family, or because they don't necessarily know their bloodline. Oguti ibuya gupi. Look around, search around, dig deep, if you can and cannot, because now that is why you find even nongoba uthi atwasa, or you going through life or whatever, or even if not necessarily a spiritual journey, but more people and all those other things, and automatically in your mind you're thinking it's people some it's not even people because remember, if mina ngunkosi, then lo umam, okay, mina ngunkosi because ubaba munkosi ne, and then umamam originally ukhumalo, but because begazwana no baba and they married legally, not traditionally, automatically ngaba unkosi, sengibiza ukhumalo, not knowing ukuthi umahlangu makahlangana nokhumalo, they did not also do the whole marriage thing, so now it's a pattern that it's ongoing, that we at least our generations will try to see rectify that thing, because I always say there's always a reset button when it's the fifth generation. at least you can try push a reset button and reset umsamo and go back to understand that who you are, because you might and call yourself good and not necessarily understand because you're not even that Xhosa. What if you're Chinese? But because we lazy to go back, it's important to understand because there's so many things that happen in our history. There's so many things that happen. Abanye even change their surnames because of certain relocations, identification purposes. So don't be lazy if you want to do that. That is why you feel so frustrated ngamadlozi and you always like amadlozi, they always ahlala khala and all the maning amadlozi, guys. That's the thing you don't understand. It's a lot of generations, and at the same time, even now when you want to unlock certain things in your life, usuke maybe usitshela ukuthi ngibiza abakwaumkhulu bami, and you must know that ubiza lababala need to go back to lababale emuva so that they can ask permission, and it's just a lot of things that goes on. But that is why I'm saying knowing the correct surname is gonna serve you and go a long way for you. It's gonna help you, it's gonna give you the answers you need, especially Maopata, because the problem is that we do lena calling just amadlozi alane swaqabangaya like Thokozani, not understanding ukuthi there were those that came before those that we think we knew, so ubiza abadala, because that's the same thing. You can't start ubize it's like 100 can't be bigger than 1. December can't be in April. But because now there's a protocol that is uzoqala kanjani ubize, because but thina masiphatha sifuna ubiza December because that's the closest. Siku February, and you think no, December is closest, not knowing what if you need to go back all the way to June, to July, to May. And you need to know that now if you married, you're thinking you married and you married into that mess, because Nani, we as women, we get married into a mess. Sometimes now we're in a mess and you're getting married with the mess, and it's always that mess. And that's why I'm saying it's very critical. It's important. Ubalulekile, because now it serves as a navigator or a compass in your spiritual life, because now you know what you're working towards and you know which ancestors you're working with. So just because they're going to ask you you're saying and they're saying okay, and then koza, and automatically you're thinking that's the solution. It is not the solution. You need to dig deep to understand where they married, because I always say the maternal side is the side you stick to most of the time, because if there was no marriage done, labo bantwana basekhaya, you might find ukuthi what if ukhokho wakho naye umntwana wasekhaya, there was no marriage done. So you start from the back, mawuphahla ubiza lezo ibongo lezo coming now, so uza ke kulezi ezikhona, and acknowledging the fact that you're not in this regard, especially when it comes to that, because I know it can get confusing. But it's important to also say because right now you will feel as if you're disregarding the others and what else and all of these other things, because even the way we carry out things, even the way sipahla ukuphahla kwasekhaya nokuphahla kwakho uhlala emqashweni or uhlala wherever la uhlala khona, apartment usemqashweni, wherever la uhlala khona, it is two different izinto zokuphahla. There's certain things you cannot do wherever you're living that you can do ekhaya. It's a lot of things. Kunezinto ezenziwe umsamo omkhulu, umsamo wasekhaya, then kuba nomsamo wakho personal. So it's one of those things that we need to try and understand as a people, I think, but I'll like I saying that, we always get topics within topics whenever we start a topic. So I guess this is just one of those where else we'll be dedicating maybe 1 or 2 videos should it was allow once again. But it's one of those things that we need to understand, because nakona you look at you inherit generational curses, ungazimiselanga because of these things. And there was no, because when ukuhlanganiswa kwamadlozi is a very sacred thing, and it's a purification, and it's a spiritual cleansing that goes on. So now if you're gonna inherit curses walapo because ubiza leso sibongo leso, you're gonna do that. Like for example, maybe abantu bakhona they die or they drink, abantu bakhona they die unexplainable death, abantu bakhona they in and out of jail, abantu bakhona they don't have a straight life, abantu bakhona they suffering from certain sicknesses. you know, abantu bakhona, you're gonna inherit that because that is the label you've put yourself upon. And that is even when it comes to uyoshola, and they were like, no, but there's a disagreement when it comes to amazozi wakabo mama, I don't know baba. Our kabo mama, they will always be fighting. There's so much mess that is going on. You wanna claim this child as your own, and you did not even tell those that came before us. That is always the case. Why? It's not necessarily good, but no, man. It's just a matter of uwenza izinto correctly, because you need to know that if uzolungisa umsamo unenza izinto zesintu, to do things properly is important. Nani ningagijimeli ukuthi I want to get married, I want to do this. You getting married, you taking umntana abantu umfake emesini, or umntana abantu ukumes yakibo isibongo sasikibo, and you don't know nimlobolela kanti ubiza isibongo ekungasisona, you know, automatically that is a conflict spiritually. That's why I'm saying if we get to a level of understanding that life is spiritual, a lot of things are going to be curbed. A lot of things are going to be very much avoided, even with how we see things. Because now you might find a good, you know, you using your stepdad's surname and your kids are calling your stepdad's surname, and it's just a mess. They're going to get married and your stepdad's surname is going to continue. That is a lot. That is a lot to look at. So because I know especially when it comes to abo mama and abo koko, they can be very secretive with these things, not understanding they are the ones that break us as a people, and they're the ones that leave us in shambles. And that is why, you know, it's important to be open with yourself and open with your family. And should you lack direction or lack anything, go out and seek help or seek clarity and direction, so that at least uma wenza izinto uzozenzela entweni ekhona, entweni ephathekayo. You understand that? So that you do not just do that. It's like your family is made up of so many people, but wena uzobiza a chosen few uthi ngiyaphahla nina nabozibani. You might think you just made up of one son. We're made up of so many bloodlines. Before the bloodlines, they started somewhere. You feel me? So now you might just be calling us nina ngibiza bobanibani, and then it ends there. And you find that there's a bit of a backtracking in your things. And those are as long as Kanye and all these are. But then the older doses are like, angisho yenzela nini ukuthi abonani ukuthi nenzela kanjani maka sekasenzelini nathi khani sizomlungisela ke. And then it becomes tricky where else you don't know, understand. That's why I'm saying a lot of people or rather a lot of problems can be curbed if listen to lesbians understand. You know, not all the time we're too quick to say ukuthi umuntu and all these other things, because the main the thing that in Hambile your consultant for your guys in most cases, it's witchcraft and your relationships. You don't care about these essential and important things that should one day misumuzing is always hella upon something, etc. Even with getting married and they were never married. That's what I'm explaining. Because now it's very tricky. It's very tricky. That is why I'm saying in everything that we do, it's important to seek spiritual advice and spiritual guidance, so that singas oyenza amaputa, you know, there's always a way around everything. But now the thing is that is to do things with maturity and understanding, not just uwenza izinto. You understand that? And even if you might be thinking that you're doing things wrong or whatever the case might be, go out and seek validation and seek the help you need, because now you might find there's a lot of things that have been messing up izinto zakho or izinto zagini, you know, and sometimes you might even find ukuthi lo muzi niwusebenzisayo maybe it needs owaga gogo, you know, maybe ugogo waza lapho naye as a girlfriend, you feel me, and then nina say now tata over say, but it's a lot like this. I'm saying it's a lot of things. If ni redirect kanjalo, you get to see that izinto zelozi are a bit smooth. That is why abantu bangala and they were like amadlozi awekho or amadlozi awasebenzi or all these other things, because they don't want to do the work. But you are able to David wazala Nebuchadnezzar, or I don't even know but you're able to know who birthed who. There are books that like that in the Bible. I don't know which book it is, but there is a page, whatever, I don't know. But there is a part where it explains the bloodline. That's why I'm trying to make you understand that ancestral bloodline is important, so that you know that kuze sifike la sikhona today sifike kanjani, ubani ozala ubani owashada ubani noma ubani ozala ubani. That is important. It is as important as how we call, you know, certain things in our life. You feel me? So It's important to understand lezo zinto lezo nakhona Thokozani bogogo. So it's one of those things that we at least, if singazibheka ngelinye ilihlo sizokwazi ukuthi noma senze izinto sizenze ngcono, because now it's very tricky when you will seek help for impilo yakho and say ukuthi this is the type of things, because even when you go out and seek healing, you communicate to amadlozi akho, but sometimes you find ukuthi uyaphahla and now you still using the wrong people, the wrong surnames, and it ends up being a problem. It ends up being a problem where else you don't even see any progress in Pilana, or you feel good. I mean, I've been Cape to Cairo. Listen to Zamadloza Sebens. It's not necessarily about Cape to Cairo or if it's a Sebens. Are you pushing the right pin codes? Are you using the right access codes, or you just punching in and guessing good when probably this might work for me? So in knowing that, it's important, especially it doesn't feel any different being a male or a female, because I know they'd say guti intomazana iyahamba yona iyoshada, so it does not matter. It matters because I birth kids. It matters, and it also it plays the same role, male and female. It plays the same role, and especially when it comes to firstborns, you should look at firstborns like their lives. They tend to be a reflection of idlozi, or rather amadlozi, on the maternal and the paternal side, because that is the first seed of the union of that generation, right? Bloodline. So now, if there's a union of that, it becomes very tricky. I think we'll get to that another time, because you can tell a lot of things. There's a lot of unsettlement. There's a lot of identification. There's a lot of there's a lot of things that goes on, because now once you get to see that, that I need to fix, or I need to stand up and do these things, because that is why they always put the rule of uklawula. But you need to understand that that rule of uklawula is broader than just it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. I always say these men or whatever the case may are too quick to say umntwana. I'm not understanding that. How are you gonna claim umntwana when you're in a mess? And you might find ukuthi abanye benu nihlawulela ezibongeni ekuyimess. You feel me? And sometimes leyo nhlawulo is null and void, because you not only this is hectic. It is very hectic. Even when it comes to Uglobola, it's the very same thing. It's the very same thing. It's the very same thing. So that's how I'm saying that, sometimes you should look at patterns that are going on in your family. Maybe niyazala no and you don't get married. Or maybe not getting there's a boy and a girl, or maybe you have a boy and a girl and your mom also has a boy and a girl and Ukoka had a boy and a girl. You should check. There are patterns that you need to look at. Or probably, there's a spiritual gift that was there in the family and azange gwatwasa, or it's not necessarily good to sometimes it's always in Daba Isim Sam and in the ancestral bloodline. If there is no union or understanding emadlozini, then that becomes a conflict. That is why but no one was taking that gift, because it's a lack of identification and understanding. Connector. Who does this gift belong to? Where does it come from? You feel me? So it's a lot of things that are going on in the spiritual there, but that's why it's important to understand. Isn't to sing azikinjela. Let us, let this ferment and understand that this is what we are doing and this is where we are going. If we understand this, we are doing better as a people. Than to think we are just doing things wrong. So it's important to understand those things and see a way forward with our lives, and especially understand our ancestral bloodline. Who are you? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Who am I? Ngubani. Who am I? Food for thought, ne? Who are you? Probably the identification you've been using all your life, thinking that is. Probably it even isn't, and even when it comes to Indaba, might argue and say, do I need to just go change it at Home Affairs? Honey, it kalim sam Indaba. You cannot just go to Home Affairs and just automatically say Semu Spanyoni. It goes back. It's very deep. So hopefully, I'll get to unpack, when topics arise that Amadlusi allow me to unpack once more. Like, I don't decide on the content I put out. I see your takes and your comments. You're like, Coco, please do a video on this. Unfortunately, I don't decide on the content I put out. My people decide on the content I put out. Amadlusi don't decide on the content. I just come here, sit here, and do the videos for you. I don't decide that, today let's do this. No, I don't do that. So when Idlozi allows and it gives us once, a freedom of sharing the wisdom, then I'll absolutely share in this. But thank you so much for choosing to watch my videos and comment and subscribe and hit the notification button. And thank you so much for the feedback you've been giving me, and for those that are enjoying my video, I appreciate each and every one of you. So do leave your comments down below, and there's nothing wrong. I know, sometimes it can get discouraging, especially if you don't know who you are, or you don't know where you're coming from, or there's even no one at the back to even explain it to you that, but this is where it all started. So don't feel discouraged, don't feel discouraged. It's a matter of opening up and being sometimes a fool to my toes work. Don't always act as if you know everything. Sometimes being honest and saying go and not playing a guessing game is very important. Honesty plays a vital role when it comes to spiritual things. I don't wake up in the minute and say, yeah, it's me, I'm the one doing all the work. I go there and say, I know nothing. You chose me and gave me all this work. So lead me, I will follow. So that's how basically it is. So we will definitely see each other very soon. But thank you so much for choosing to view my video. I am Pabadimu, the advocate Efidlozi, Thokozani, and I'll definitely see you very soon. Thokozani.